What if I just don't agree? What if I just don't agree with this fake system that they've constructed all around us? Who am I and how do we get here? What if I don't agree that you should spend your time working for a giant corporation just to turn around and give your money that you earned right back to that corporation because of all the monopolies that exist in this country? What if I don't believe in buying a house so you have to pay taxes on it? And if you don't pay your taxes, then they can take your house on you. Not to mention that you're paying an absorbent amount of money in interest and the big banks profit off of that. I don't agree with the never-ending wars just to keep people in fear constantly. All this divide. Don't agree with any of it. I don't agree with them separating the household and making both parents work to afford childcare to pay their bills. That doesn't seem divine to me. I don't agree with all the perversion and the pornography, the alcoholism, the nonsense pushed by the mainstream media, Hollyweird, and any other organization like that. Don't agree with any of them. I don't agree with the current billionaires that hold this amount of wealth. Why are you trying to get into the moon, homie? Is there something deeper behind that, Elon? Is there something deeper behind that? And unfortunately, anybody that's arguing left versus right and all this, you gotta get way past that. That's all I'm saying. They want you focused on left versus right. Just like they want you divided on racial issues, black versus white, left versus right. You know, it's the wrong versus right. This goes back to what I was talking about with the ego. They make you pick a side, then you want to fight for your side, right? Who am I and how did we get here? Something I've been asking myself a lot lately. First off, I just want to say thank you. Thank you all so very much for all your continued support. We've surpassed 100,000 followers across all platforms, and honestly, I wouldn't be able to do it if it wasn't for y'all's support. You know, this journey has been wild, and we're approaching the 2-year anniversary of being on social media. And a lot has happened over that course of 2 years. You know, we've met some interesting content creators and done some wild collaborations. We've traveled up and down the East Coast doing live streams in cities like Boston and Richmond, Virginia, St. Augustine, Florida, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. We've gone all over the place. We've been on some awesome podcasts and made some awesome friends, and we've grown this community exponentially, and I love each and every one of you. I do. There's a bee buzzing around me right now. When I started social media 2 years ago, I didn't start social media to be Lance from Upstate. I started social media because I wanted to try to make a different kind of difference, if that makes any sense. My whole plan was to start an organic farm, Guts and Glory Ranch, and have it be a place where I could bring, wounded warriors, veterans, first responders, anybody that's experienced trauma, and try to help them get reconnected to the earth and healing their body with food and holistic practices and sunshine and grounding and that kind of thing. But a place where people can come and grow organic food. That's the whole reason why I really started this endeavor, this whole adventure, is to help people and to see through the illusion. With that being said, the more I looked into health and the truth about it all, the more I realized that we've been lied to about essentially everything. I don't even know how you say that with a straight face anymore. This is the wild journey that we're on, fam. You're along for the ride, so thank you very much. Then you start learning the truth about Rockefeller and public education. Hear about the petroleum companies and things like the Flexner report. And it kind of gets your eyes open to the programming, the indoctrination, which we used to tend to think didn't exist in this country. Before anybody ever comes at me sideways about my opinions, I just want everybody to know that I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I'm just sharing my thoughts freely, and I like to converse, communicate, talk about things, resolving issues. That's the only way we move forward with all of this. But if somebody wants to get on here and call me a liberal or a MAGA or whatever, if you're still arguing left versus right, like, you're not even on the same sheet of music. And I appreciate you watching and listening and all that stuff. But this is way bigger than left versus right, all of this stuff. Puppets and their masters. Man cannot serve two masters. Life is all about perspective. We all have perspective. We all have a story. Each and every one of you has a story as to why you're right here and right now, where you are, anywhere you are in this realm of existence. You have a story. You have a purpose and a story. A purpose and a story. People have asked me to tell my story. People always ask me to tell them stories. They want to hear stories about my adventures, my careers, the lives that I've lived. Oh, look, a butterfly. Who am I and how did we get here? It's an excellent question. I'm down by the river right now. It's the place I come to find some peace. I read, I write, I sit in the sun, and I reflect on things. I've been carrying around this camera with me for a little bit, and I have been taking footage with it, but I haven't been doing much, and I want to change that. And one of the ways I want to change that is by doing this sort of vlog thing here, so people can see who I am and what I'm actually about. This has been a wild journey, all of it. And you'd think I'd be comfortable talking to the camera by now. Lance from Upstate has surmassed a following of more than 100,000 followers across platforms. And when I started out in social media, this isn't necessarily where I thought I would be. I didn't start social media to be Lance from Upstate. I didn't start social media to be in this position that I am right now, I suppose. I guess I just thought it was going to go different in my head. I started social media because I wanted to get people happy and healthy. And I lost a bunch of weight and got my body in check. And I felt inspired to try to help others in that. What I realized is that in this system, once you start tugging at the threads, it all comes unraveled. And there's been a lot of hard truths that I've had to get over, process. I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot of y'all that feel the same exact way. And I come to places like this and I think, because even after all the lives that I've lived, and every time I thought I had it figured out, I realize that there's always so much more to learn. And I say that coming from a person of experience. And that's not coming from a place of ego or pride or anything like that. It's coming from a place of fact. I've got a lot of experience in life, even as a young man. I always got to clean it up. Trash. Trying to find peace. Peace amidst all the noise. I just want to be free. Woo! Who are we and how do we get here, bro? You know, I live the quote-unquote normal life, all right? Serve my country, military, went on to become a police officer because I wanted to make a difference. And that felt like it was my calling. It's probably part of the reason why I have such a receding hairline. But I digress. I owned a house, had a camper, all the things, the material things. And last year, I decided to sell everything, kind of be a nomad. And I've been very grateful, fortunate, and thankful to have some amazing people in my life who have allowed me to stay with them. And I really appreciate that, especially while I'm going through this whole journey myself. Because this is a journey, and this is healing, and this is all part of it. My question is, who put them in charge? Who let them make the rules? And I don't mean that in a way where I'm trying to incite any kind of violence or anarchy or anything of the sort. That's not the case. What I'm saying is that I was born here. Born here. God's creation. The Creator's creation. Born here, yet they impose their will upon the people. How is that divine? How is that godlike? How is that forgiving? How is that loving thy neighbor? You know, so many of us believed in this system because we wanted to believe, and we believed in the wrong things. But I guess that's now where it's time to change it all. And even the fear that I've had breaking out this camera and sharing my thoughts like this, we got to get over it sometimes. We just got to get over it and do what you feel is right. Like picking up fishing string. Look at this. Look at this. I don't know what the heck is going on here. See that? That's why I'm picking up this fish line. The maps. The sinkers. And the maps. You know, going into talking about what happened on September 11th, they orchestrated that in order to get patriotism rallied up. They needed a bunch of soldiers to go fight all their wars. They had this all planned out, all of this. And that's why it was like a Pearl Harbor-like event. That's their words, not mine. There's so much stuff that goes into that, but either way, what that did is that made Americans, much like myself, stand up and say, I'm going to go fight because that's what I'm supposed to do and defend my country, because we can't be having terrorist attacks and horrible things like this happen, so I need to go fight and do that. And that's on purpose, because a lot of the bravest are the ones that get sent off as cannon fodder, and then they're no longer here to fight back amidst all the distractions. And that's why it's so important, I think, to have something like what I was talking about, Guts and Glory Ranch. or a series or network of communities where we bring warriors together, and veterans and first responders and people that know about trauma and holistic healing and organic agriculture and all these beautiful things, and bring them in to help us heal our veterans, because our veterans are incredibly powerful, bro. They're incredibly powerful. Humility. Humility, knowing when to speak and when to listen. I've sat silent for a very long time. I've always listened, and I'm still willing to listen. But come on, y'all feel it. You feel this. You feel the same way that I do. How this doesn't seem like this is how it was supposed to be, bro. This was not how it was supposed to be. We're supposed to be connected, out here, grounded, barefoot, in the water, connected to the sun. And they trick and program us with all their BS. All their BS. And once you see, you can't unsee. It's just like that movie, They Live, where you put the sunglasses on. Once you put these magic sunglasses on, bro, it's not like you can unsee see what you're seeing. You know what I'm saying? Feels like it's time for a breakaway civilization. A civilization that no longer needs nor wants this system. Like I said, who made the rules? Who put them in charge? Who said that they own all the land and can make all the decisions? Right? I was just born here. This is all incredibly tribal, especially in my perspective. We were all born here into the Creator's creation. Everything is supposed to be provided for, right? Food, water, shelter, it's all out here, all here. But people capitalized and corporatized on that, and they sell it back to you, and they make you feel bad when you're not working for their system of a machine because you think differently. Think differently, because that's what this is going to take. It's going to take people to think differently, act differently, and want to be different. And so that's why I have just been releasing it all. What do I have to prove to anybody anymore, man? What do I have to prove to anybody anymore? I did what I was supposed to do. I showed my bravery, stood up for what is right, still stand up for what is right, or what I feel is right. I just don't want to work within this system. I think it's time for something different. And there's so many beautiful, amazing, beautiful people out there that all feel the same exact way. And I'm not talking about a whole collapse of civilization. That's not what I want. That's not what anybody wants, because there are children that we have to think about. There are elderly that we have to think about. We have to think about each other. What I'm saying is that there can be a different way, where people are happy. We don't all feel like slaves, like we were lied to, like we were taken advantage of. And this goes so deep. This is why I'm in my Bible, trying to connect and trying to learn and trying to figure things out. Listening to intuition, connecting with that source right here. This is all very spiritual too. And even though we're in this physical realm, this physical world, this 3D manifestation matrix, this is all very spiritual, and the things that we can't necessarily see. Things that are much bigger than what we can even realize right now. There's so much to play. But that's what God's also telling. The Creator's also saying, like, I don't know, I feel it, to play and to be, to just be. I'm not a perfect man, and I will never claim to be a perfect man. But I am working on myself every day, trying to figure out the path to walk, giving myself grace in that, because of the journey that I've lived, because of the things that I've experienced, because of the trauma that I've endured, because of the things I've seen. And releasing ego is such a huge part of all of this. Your ego, your identity. And sometimes it got to the point, even with myself, like removing that ego, you almost lose who you are to a certain degree. But humility. Humility, to me, as a leader, is knowing when to speak and knowing when to listen. I've been listening to people my whole life. And I've come to learn that maybe I shouldn't have been listening to them. We all learn that, right? So that's all part of the journey. That's all part of it. We all have people in our lives that when we were children, when we were younger, we looked up to them. And then when we become adults, we look at that same person and we think to ourselves, I can't believe I looked up to that person. I know that's happened to a lot of us. And that's a big part of letting the ego go as well. The ego go. The ego go. Letting the ego go. So you're looking at me, people might not think that a few short years ago, I was like 300 and something pounds. 300 and something pounds. I was an alcoholic, drinking all the time. I was never violent, nothing like that, but I drank alcohol to numb myself out. Numb myself out from my career, from reality, from all those things. And when I quit drinking, I changed my life. I lost a lot of weight, and it got me thinking differently about things. At the time that this happened, I was a police officer. I was a detective and a sergeant in upstate New York here. In a pretty busy community, a community that I absolutely love, but a wild community at that. I lived there for a little bit when I was a child. A place called Hudson Falls, New York. So at the time of my awakening, my awareness, I was a detective. Something inside of me just told me I could no longer do the job. It was a change inside of me. Situation had happened, and I knew right then and there, like, this is it. I'm done. I'm done with this, and for me to do that, I don't think many people anticipated that, because a lot of people, I think, saw me going on maybe to be a higher up boss even further than what I was already, or I think a lot of people anticipated me getting promoted, taking over a department as a police chief or something of that nature. I just felt I could no longer do it. Couldn't do it. Could not do it. Something just didn't feel right anymore. And it wasn't necessarily the people that I worked with. It was the people that called the shots at the top, the state level, at these higher levels. I got so sick of hearing, well, that's just how it is, or we can't do anything because the state says we have to do it like this. I saw a million things that could have been fixed, that could have been addressed, but there's all this red tape, all this bureaucracy. And that, in tandem with getting sober from alcohol and getting healthier, I was drawing closer to the Creator, this divine connection, this connection that's within. Like, there's no other way to explain it. Like guided. If you know, you know. If you don't, well, I love you and I appreciate you and thank you for listening. Prior to my time as a police officer, I was in the New York Army National Guard, deployed to Afghanistan as part of Task Force Iron in 2012. I was in the infantry I joined when I was 17 years old. I graduated high school early so I could ship off for basic training sooner. See, for me, it was a different kind of choice because I didn't feel like I had a choice. I always played music and was into art and all that stuff. I was always into nature and the outdoors. But I came from kind of a dysfunctional family. And I knew ever since I was a child that I wanted to be a soldier, be a warrior. And I also knew as a teenager that if I joined the military, served my country, did what I was supposed to do, then that could help me start my life. I'd be able to maybe go to college, buy a house, live the American dream. So that's what I did. My senior year of high school, I doubled up on all my classes, and I was able to graduate high school early. It was really cool, my poetry now coming full circle, because one of the ways I was able to graduate early was obviously I had to take English, and my English teacher took all my rhymes, all my poems as credit, because I would fill notebooks up back then just of rhymes and poems and things that I was writing. So from 17 years old, I joined the Army until 34 years old when I walked away from policing. Over 17 years of my life given to the country and community, and I'm not complaining. I am not complaining whatsoever. I don't want anybody to ever think I'm complaining about the situation. I am incredibly grateful, thankful, and blessed to be right where I am right now in all the lives that I've lived, okay? That is in itself divine intervention, in my opinion, because I wasn't necessarily supposed to make it, I don't think, statistically speaking. My dad went to, and listen, when I talk about these stories, I harbor no hard feelings. Like I forgive those who have trespassed against me. And I love wholeheartedly. And our childhoods can be tremendously complicated. But when we let things go and just take it for what it is, it opens your eyes. Before I tell you about my father, I'll say my father had a huge heart. And I love my dad very much. He's passed away. He passed away, I don't know, 6 months or so after I got home from overseas. My dad lived a pretty rough life. But my dad also had a lot of trauma growing up, and I get that. And I have a lot of empathy for my dad because I don't know, but I have heard and feel the things that he has experienced. But either way, my dad went to prison when I was young, and being a little boy, being brought up around that environment, it was different. Every weekend we would go with my grandmother, and we'd take a ride to go visit my dad in prison. And that was a lot, and that's a lot on any child. It's a lot on any child. And it was all stemming from domestic abuse, domestic violence. And again, it is what it is. I'm not looking for sympathy, and I'm not complaining about anything. There's so many more people that have it way worse than I ever did, and everybody has their story. You all have a story, just like I have a story. And I'm just wanting to give you context as to the person that I am. Especially as you see how I live and how I think and what I talk about. But growing up, my dad was a little on the rougher side. And, both my parents remarried multiple times. And I just thought that joining the military would give me that sense of family and unity that I honestly had been looking for. And in a different kind of way. My Nana and my Poppy in Vermont, my grandparents, they raised me in a huge way, and I'm so thankful that I had them. They were great to be around, especially growing up. And they played a lot of different roles. I think about them all the time. They also taught me things a little bit differently, like raised outside, hunting, fishing, foraging, being out here. My poppy could just sit next to this river and just sit with his own thoughts. And, you know, he read the Bible and everything, but I don't remember him and I having very many conversations about any of that stuff. But either way, I digress again. So, I joined the Army. I was originally going to join the Marine Corps, and then my buddy John, love you Johnny, talked me into joining the Army Guard. So that's what I joined, and went out to Fort Benning, Georgia after I graduated high school. Prior to that, I had been a musician, even in high school, playing music, but you know, I did all the same jobs everybody else ever did. Washing dishes, dragging brush, being a construction laborer, scrapping metal. I did all that stuff, but I also played music on the side to a few small places around here, and actually got paid for it. But you know, everything changed, and I felt like I had to give that music thing up and serve my country. And that's another big part of all of this programming. You know, the stuff that happened on September 11th. I was 11 years old. It was my first day in school in upstate New York when that day happened. And then you fast forward however many years, and I turned 22 in Afghanistan. And that all these conflicts going on for what? For what? For what? But I digress. This is about love. I don't want to talk about problems. I want to talk about solutions. You know what I'm saying? So with my perspective, I bring nearly 2 decades of experience coming from a military and law enforcement perspective. I was a real-life detective, and I've even been contemplating sharing my resume just to put it out there so people know I am who I am. I'm not here to deceive anybody. I never started this social media journey to be at this point in time right now, but this is something bigger in the plan. There's always something bigger in the plan. With getting sober from alcohol, my biggest dream is to start my own ranch, my own community, my own place where I can bring people, bring veterans, bring first responders, bring anybody that suffered trauma, help them reconnect back to the earth, heal our warriors mentally, physically, spiritually. A place to grow clean food, real food, as God intended. A place with good water, clean water. That's what we all want, right? But the ranch, we can all be creative. We can teach each other. We can talk about foraging and living as we are intended to live in sync with all of this. I'll see people that I know. They'll be like, oh, this is all you're doing now? Like, what do you mean this is all I'm doing? Making videos, making content, being who I want to be, connecting to the Creator, reading my Bible. This is magical. It's magical in a different way. Connecting with this community. And I know that there's big changes upon us. But either way, it's my afternoon on the water. I'm going to hop back in here, and then I'm going to get ready to head to the studio here. I love y'all so very much. Thank you for listening to me rant. There's Vermont over there. Salem, New York. My little studio is right down the hill here, and this is where I hang out a lot of times. Especially somebody waving to me over there. I can go say hi. But yeah, so those are the mountains of Vermont here. This is Salem, New York, and down the hill here is where I have my little studio set up, and I've been working on playing music and all that stuff. Who am I and how did we get here? The last couple years we've spent adventuring on the quest for knowledge and the truth. And over this adventure, I've truly come to know that life has been an adventure. I've been reluctant to make a video like this telling everybody who exactly I am. I'm weary of pride and the ego, humility. I'm not a perfect man, but the Creator knows I'm trying. When I started this journey, I wasn't doing it to be Lance from Upstate. I wasn't doing it to dive into the truths and the hidden history and the propaganda and all that nonsense. I started because I got sober from alcohol and I wanted to get people healthy, happy and healthy, reconnected with the earth, reconnected with their bodies. I'm not perfect and I'm not a hero, never claimed to be, but I have experienced a lot of things in life that maybe other people haven't. And this is all about perspective. Perspective, perspective, perspective. Social media can be so divisive sometimes, when really we all want the same things at the end of the day. We want clean skies, we want clean water, we want clean food. We want a safe place to raise our children. We want to not be lied to and taken advantage of. That we can all agree on. My adventures have taken us down a slew of different rabbit holes. And the only thing that I know for certain is there's always more to learn. It does start right here. It starts within. The connection to all of this. Again, I'm by no means perfect, but the Creator does know I'm trying. The Creator does know I'm trying. So we went on top of the mountain. I showed y'all. Now I'm going to show you my studio space. This is where I've done the first couple episodes of the Spoken Truth podcast. And it's where I've been working on some music with my brother. DSFN. You can check him out on iTunes. Well, here he is, right here. There's DSFN, my brother. If you'd like to listen to some of his music, you can find him on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube Music, Amazon Music. I actually wrote a song called Red Volvo, and he recorded it. And this is why I love my brother. It's my first time here today, and that's my brother's workstation right here. This is my workstation. And my little brother left me this note, and he always leaves me notes, and he's such a special person. But he said, I love you. You're reaching for the stars, and you are succeeding. I'm so proud of you. Love, Dylan. And that's my little brother. I got the last one he left me here. And then this one. He's such a ray of sunshine. And a little Sasquatch. It was a gift from a friend of mine recently. So this is the studio. There's my brother. We got some drums going, microphones, guitars. This is one of the art students drew me the other day. That's pretty cool, right? Did a really good job. His name is Hal. Nice guy. So this is where I've been hanging out when I'm not making videos and exploring and adventuring. And honestly, I've been taking some me time and trying to find my peace. But with that, I know that we got to do some work. And My hair's looking wild. But big things, and even though I don't agree with this system, it doesn't mean that we need to destroy it all. We just need to rethink, think outside the box, come together as a people, all together. And love, faith, peace, love, and plants, all those good things, and staying wild while we're at it. But stay tuned for some more of my poetry and some of my music. I've got some cool stuff in store. But I love y'all. Stay wild. Thank you for joining me on today's adventure down at the river